Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Today's video is very important. You know why? I have made so many videos, but I have never ever said you need to watch this video completely. And this is the videos I'm going to make for only those students who are bothered by long videos. So after watching this video 2 or 3 times, you will be able to have a perfect ideology about the type of data. Actually, I'm going to make 3 different videos, and it's a basically quick revision of all the stuff we have already studied. So today I'm going to start with the first episode of the revision of the chapter. It's all about the data collection. It's all about the kind of data, right? So let's begin with the primary data. First of all, we need to understand there are 2 different kinds of data we have. One is called primary data. Primary data is a kind of data which is collected by the researcher on his own. So it's all the hard work of the researcher which is involved, and the very best thing about the primary data is it is very close to reliability, very close to validity, because obviously you are observing the whole scenario by your own. This is first thing about the primary data. And you can say in primary data we got like questionnaire, structure interviews, and blah blah blah. So many things. I will inshallah ta'ala tell you something in detail. And what about the secondary data? Secondary data already exists somewhere, and it is your choice to pick that data to put into your research work. So obviously there are benefits of both main primary data and the secondary data. The best thing about the primary data, it's about its validity and reliability, but the limitations we have in primary data collection is, it take a lot of time, it take a lot of money, and sometimes it's possible that you are not able to, you haven't access to the target group. So this is the limitation of the primary data. And as far as the strength of the secondary data, obviously it will save a lot of time, it will save a lot of money, it will give you more time to reconsider about the whole scenario you're already dealing with. So but at the same time, in secondary data there must be some limitations. You know why? Because it's not that valid, not reliable. It is even possible the data you are taking from some departments on websites, so it is possible it is not updated. So obviously we are working with the both strength and the limitation. So right now it's all about the primary data, it's all about the secondary data. No, I'm talking about the methods. Okay, whatever the information we have in form of either primary data or secondary data, one can say that it's qualitative data or quantitative data. So let's talk something about quantitative data, and this video will give you deep insight in all the things which are involved in the quantitative data. The very first thing about the quantitative data is we need to understand what is quantitative data, as it is mentioned by the term quantitative. So quantitative is all about the quantity, it's all about the statistical data, it's all about the numbers. And normally in quantitative data we got 3 different variation. For instance, you can say that it's all about the numbers. So if we talk about the numbers, it's quantitative data. If we talk about the percentage, it's all about the quantitative data. And at the end, if we have the ratio or the rate, then again it's a quantitative data. For instance, one can say that the population of Pakistan is 222 million. So it's exactly the numbers. The percentage, I can say that roughly 50% population of Pakistan lives in rural areas. That's a percentage. And we got certain and very different terminologies like birth rate, like death rate. So what about the rate? So whenever you pick 1,000 people, and out of those 1,000 people, for instance, I can say the birth rate of Pakistan is 3.4 birth rate. So one can say that at any particular place, if we simply collect 1,000 person, so out of 1,000 person, 3 to 4 kids or newborn babies can be there. So if 3 to 4 newborn babies were there in 1,000 of the population, one can say that so the birth rate of Pakistan is 3 or 4%. So it's understand, it's all about the numerical data we have. I told you about the variation we have in quantitative data. Obviously there must be some strengths and the limitation of quantitative data. The very best thing about the quantitative data is, it gives us sometimes exact data. For instance, as I mentioned earlier, it's all about the population of Pakistan. We got a very clear cut digit. So it's and the data we have like that way, it can be easily replicated. It's more valid. You can even say that it's valid. I mean, as far as the validity is concerned, as far as the reliability is concerned, representativeness is concerned, one can say that the digits, it's always good to have one thing. But the limitation is that one can say that if we want to know something about an issue, so it's not possible for us to understand the objectivity, the keenness in any matter with the help of quantitative data. Rather than we need to qualitative. What is quantitative, as I mentioned earlier? So how, why, what? It's all about qualitative data. It's all about emotions. It's all about behavior. So with the help of qualitative data, you simply get numbers. But the limitation is that you can't judge anything, you can't make a decision, you can't have a solution unless until you have some sort of behavior in it. I mean, you can't get a possible answer unless until you have a behavioral issues in that particular matter as well. So, and secondly, we got, as I mentioned, qualitative data. It's so confusing sometimes, qualitative, quantitative. No, it's qualitative data. Qualitative data is all about your behavior. And there are so many things we can get people's behavior with help of different methods like participant observation. It's one of the things we simply go within the people, we observe people. It's all about the observation. So in qualitative data, we need to be personally involved in any scenario. So this is we have in qualitative data. Now let's begin with the detail of the quantitative data. The very best thing about the quantitative data, it's all about the questionnaire. The very first thing through which we can get statistical or numerical data is the questionnaire. What is questionnaire? Questionnaire is basically the set of different questions. There are two different ways we can simply send or give a questionnaire to our respondent. One of the thing which is generally used through emails are the postal questionnaire. We through post, through obviously we are living in a global village, so we got more opportunity to send so many data to our customers. So the postal questionnaire or through email, we have questionnaire which we can send to our respondent. One thing. Second thing is the administered researcher questionnaire. This is a bit different because at that particular moment, a researcher needs to be there and he is the one who simply deliver the whole questionnaire to other people. So questionnaire of two type. The way a questionnaire can be sent, first is postal and second administered researcher questionnaire. One thing. So the form or the questionnaire have two different types. First type of questionnaire is called pre-coded or close-ended questionnaire. Close-ended or pre-coded. So this kind of questionnaire, it's all about the choices. You people have a very limited choices when we talk about the pre-coded. It means I am giving you some questionnaire, I am giving you a set of questions, and you people don't have your own choice. Rather than you are bound to, you are forced to answer according to the researcher's choice, like A, B, C, D. So it simply you depend, you can take A, B, or C, D. So you are limited, you are restricted to researcher's choice. This is called pre-coded, right? Pre-coded questionnaire. Second, we got open-ended. So open-ended means still I have a lot of questions, the same pattern of questions. There are thousands, for instance, or hundreds of questions I can simply distribute to my respondent. Question remains the same, but you are giving the choice. Either you want to opt this, and that. Whatever the choice you people have in your mind, you can simply put in the answer box. So this is the questionnaire which represent open-ended questions. Obviously, there must be some strength, there must be some limitations. If we talk about the strength obviously we get a very, you can say, not an accurate but journalized kind of a data. We have a lot of information to a restricted, I mean, the things in questionnaire, we are restricted, we are bound to certain things, we are bound to certain things. I mean, if I need to give you the example, sometimes the questionnaire we people have, it's all about which political party is I mean, going sky high, for instance. So there must be 3 to 4 questions in the questionnaire, you need to, I mean, fill the forms or the question according to their choices. And the limitation is that obviously it's simply the digits which reflects certain things. But if we can have solution of something, we are not able to get the solution through these kind of questionnaires. So this is the thing we don't have in that thing. So this is the questionnaire, the very important thing which are in questionnaire. We need to try to use simple language, as simple as possible, because when we are distributing questionnaire, it is required that we are sending those questionnaires, I mean, to different class of people. I mean, obviously we are not sure either we are giving this questionnaire to a person who has done his masters or a person who is, for instance, illiterate. So this is the thing we have in questionnaire. You should go with a very simple language. One thing, there should not be any ambiguity in the questions. I mean, it should, as I mentioned earlier, simple language. So obviously when there is simple language in the questionnaire, obviously there must not be ambiguity in it. Second thing, but the very bad thing or the limitation of the questionnaire is, I mean, we don't say anything for sure. For instance, I distributed thousands of questionnaires online, or posted so many questionnaire through post, or even I'm giving, or you can say, dozens of questionnaire to my student or my respondent. So I'm not sure, I'm not confirmed. I mean, either they fill the questionnaire on their own, or they simply wasted the time and they simply trash it in the dustbin. So I mean, we can't say for sure about the reliability, or the representativeness with the help of these kind of questionnaire. So this is one thing we have in questionnaire. One thing. Second thing we can have is the structure interview. What is the difference between structure interview and questionnaire? I mean, in questionnaire, you got fixed question and you have a choice. Either you can go with the fixed MCQs or pre-coded stuff, or you give a liberty to your respondent to fill according to your own. In structure interview, obviously this kind of thing, I mean, you can simply have people, to give their interview, right? When you give different questions to the people, so it is the choice of the respondent to say whatever the answer the people have. In structure interview, what you people have, certain question, you have the choice to answer according to your will. What is the strength of the structure interview? The strength of the structure interview is that we only get limited choices. We have the answers, in structure interview, but it is a very short, you can say, we have a boundary in which you can work on that thing. Clear? So in structure interview, what is the structure interview? It's all about the fixed questions, but the answers are simply having the choice of the respondent. One thing. Obviously, when we talk about the interview and its structure interview, so it means you can have more than an answer. You can simply extend something according to the will of the respondent. Again, in structure interview, there are two things we need to work on. First of all, I mean, the researcher needs to be very clear. He shouldn't be biased. I mean, in interview, he should not manipulate according to his desired result. I mean, it's certain, sometimes even happens. I mean, when you're conducting structure interview, you simply plan your interview. Interview according to your own will. You want to have a desired result. And once you have a desired result, I mean, you can simply manipulate it. So this is the limitation of the structure interview. You know what? I mean, you can play with the words. You can simply trap your respondent according to your will. One thing. And secondly, I mean, for instance, even it is possible when we talk about the respondent need to be smart enough, need to be literate, need to be sharp, need to retaliate. I mean, if those qualities are there in the respondent, there must be something really good structure interview. So this is the best thing about the strength of the structure interview. But as parallel to this, there obviously there are certain limitations which are involved in the structure interview, and the limitations are, it simply covers a very specific thing. It simply covers a very minute things, minute details, which is hard to qualify, which is hard to quantify sometimes, because we can't judge anything for sure. Obviously, when you are conducting an interview, you have a very certain different kind of atmosphere, and even it is possible, I mean, when you are conducting the structure interview, the respondent may be shy enough or reluctant enough to give you those answers which they have in their mind. So this is the negative or the limitation of the structure interview. Then we got content analysis. This is the third thing we have: questionnaire, focus interview, and third thing we got content analysis. Content analysis is very important. You know why? Because content analysis can be taken in both ways, in qualitative way, in quantitative way. But before I go to in detail, I need to explain what is content analysis. Content analysis is a technique, it's a method in which we simply analyze text, television, are the documents, are the movies. So all those texts which are involved, are in TV, like TV, visual, you can say we got visual recordings, whatever we have in the past, for instance, which relate to media. So whenever we are talking about the text, or the media, audio or visual, whatever we have in any form in relate to media, so we simply can have an idea through which we can analyze and we can predict something. So whenever we have a content analysis, we got two things in content analysis. One thing is called recurrent themes. What is recurrent themes? I mean, through media, one can simply guess, we can simply predict one thing. I mean, what is the tendency of a specific gender towards certain TV plays? You can even say, for instance, one can say that, these days, if we simply talk about the Pakistani media, they are generally girls or the female likes those dramas which are involved, like the relationship of, you can say, Saas and Bahu. You understand what I mean to say? So most of the dramas which are which touch the popularity level, so they are concerned with the relationship, the family issues generally they have in the dramas. So in recurrent themes, we can have the prediction which about the people's behavior, but it's simply the ratio which tell us about the behavior. We are not sure why people watching this. For instance, a drama is very in these days. There are millions of people who are watching the episode of drama every single week. So we got the data on internet that millions of people are watching this drama. But okay, we got digits through content analysis. Okay, this kind of drama is very popular among the women. One can say that, but we can't say anything for sure. Okay, why women are watching this drama? Either for specific character they are watching the drama, or it's a topic which are interested, or women want to see that theme. So this is complex, this is perplexing sometimes. You got the data, but it's not sure that you people are having some behavioral guideline for that. So this is content analysis one. Second thing is that through content analysis, you know what we can get again? Content mapping. For instance, you got text, you got books, you got movies, for instance, historical things you can simply, by watching those movies, those texts, those books, we are able to understand, we can predict if something happening in the past like that way. It is possible by replicating the data, by having the same circumstances. You can say that we can predict, we can have content mapping, that if we have things in the past like that way, more than sure the things will be like the same way in present as well. So content analysis give you a lot of good information about the people's ideology, about the tendency, about the trend of different things, and with the help of those trends, our media, you can say, playing a very good part. For instance, they are making movies on the same themes which are very popular among the different genders. So this is we have in content analysis. So after content analysis, we have another source through which we can get quantitative data, and this is called experimentation. Experimentation, it's a bit, you can say, when we talk about the experimentation, it bit looks natural science. We're dealing with the natural science because normally like physics, chemistry, biology, zoology are things, mathematics, computer. So normally experimentations involve these kind of subjects. In these kind of subjects we have experimentation. Whenever we use a term experimentation, there must be 2 or 3 things we need to understand, especially in reference to sociology. One thing is called is correlation. When we experiment something, when we are meeting with different people, we are interacting with different people, there must be 2 things together. One thing is called correlation. In correlation, we having 2 or more than 2 variables, parameters which are working together at the same time. For instance, if I tell you one thing, in Pakistan, it is quite obvious that girls are getting high marks. Girls are more hardworking as compared to boys. The result we have in university, in college, in school level, it is for sure. After watching, observing all the results, one can predict, one can simply say by sure, girls are more hardworking, they are more able to understand the studies. So one thing is gender. So gender is one of the variable, then education is one of the variable. So for instance, if we take 2 variables together and just make a link with each other, this is called correlation. We can even say that the people of lower middle class or poor people commit suicide more than educated high class people. So this is one of the things. So we got 2 things together. First thing is the social status, and second thing, it's about education. So the people who are illiterate, the people who belongs to the poor class. So 2 variables. So the social class one, education level second. 2 variables are working together. So this is called correlation. And second thing we have in experimentation is called causation. So as it mentioned by the term causation, so causation is all about the cause. So for instance, one thing happens, so the other thing automatically triggered by the first event. This is called cause, right? So these 2 things are very common in experimentation, and there are so many type of experimentation where people have, like lab experimentation. In lab experimentation, all the things are done in a library, in laboratory, excuse me, laboratory. This is a laboratory experimentation. But in laboratory experimentation, we got every single thing bound. We got restrictions in laboratory experimentations, because there are certain things we need to control. We need to produce a certain atmosphere. When we have a certain atmosphere, then we can conduct laboratory experimentation. On the other hand, we have experimentation in the field. It's good to have experimentation in the field. We can simply switch to different places, wander here and there, and talk to people about different things. We can get a lot of positive results. But at the same time, the very limitations of the field experimentation is, we can't control the certain things, right? This is one of the things which are involved in the field experimentation. So in experimentation, I mentioned correlation, I mentioned causation, 2 things which are interlinked with each other. Then in experimentation, I told you something about the laboratory experimentation, where certain things are fixed. For instance, normally you can say, we have in laboratory experimentation, certain things are fixed: the temperature, the atmosphere, so many things which need to be there for the performing different experimentation. In field, everything will be open. We can chat to different people, got so much information about different ideas, about different topics, but we can't produce a very good, reliable and a valid result through field experimentation. This we have in experimentation. And in experimentation, I must say, there's a lot of hard work. You need to wander here and there. It's very time consuming. One thing, it will take a lot of money. Obviously you have to spend a lot. And when we talk about experimentation, there are certain things which are involved in experimentation. You need a lot of supporters, need a lot of assistant for that performing experimentation, because there must be somebody, there must be couple of people who can simply arrange different things for you to conduct your experimentation. And at the end, we got one more thing which is important. This is called longitudinal survey. What is longitudinal survey? As it mentioned by the term longitudinal survey. So longitudinal survey is a kind of technique, is a kind of method through which we get a lot of information. And longitudinal survey simply reflect, it's a lot of time, it's the time duration. For instance, sometime even possible you can dedicate 10 and more than 10 years for longitudinal studies. So there are plus and minus limitations of the longitudinal studies. One of the things which is involved in longitudinal study is that you can get a very detailed you can say evaluation of certain issues. So this is the very best thing about the longitudinal survey. But at the same time, as I mentioned earlier, in longitudinal surveys, it's need a lot of hard work, a lot of time, a lot of dedication which should be there just to get results. But the limitations of the longitudinal survey is, if you people are not able to understand, you miss something. For instance, you are working on some particular person, and the person flatlined, or the person died, or you are not able to continue your research, so all your hard work simply wasted in that process. So this is longitudinal survey. In longitudinal survey, we got some subdivision, which is cross-sectional and cross-sectional surveys. What is cross-sectional surveys? It is possible that we are observing a specific community for 10 years. So it's possible in a longitudinal survey you divide certain sections. It is possible in a longitudinal survey we got 3 to 4 cross-sectional surveys. What is cross-sectional surveys? If we are observing a specific community, in that specific community we can simply take one argument, one variable. For instance, you are taking a community. In that community you are observing the behavior of educated people. So you simply have the attitude, the behavioral issues of the educated class in a certain area. So you can, what is required, why you are doing all this stuff? Because for instance, it's possible you need to pick that research work in cross-sectional survey, and then you can simply juxtapose, have a comparison with other society of the same class. So you are picking just one variable, and what is the variable? Is it's all about education. Picking education in a specific community, having some results, and then compare all this to another community which is present somewhere else. So this is very helpful sometimes, because you have, when you got analyzing two different things, two different things in this way. One society is the in, for instance, in Pakistan, and second in, for instance, USA. So you people have a lot of variation in it. So this is we have in cross-sectional survey. It is even possible that so many cross-sectional surveys can make a longitudinal study. Even we can even say like that. So we got questionnaire, we got structure interview, we got content analysis, we got experimentation, we got longitudinal surveys. And at the very end, this is all the things we have personally. Personally, we are going all this stuff. But at the very last, I must say, there's a secondary type of data in quantitative data. For instance, we are researching for this and that and that, but we are shortage of time. We don't have that time, money to go here and there. So it's possible that we can get some sort of information and knowledge through internet. So if we have knowledge on internet, this is a kind of, obviously this is kind of a secondary data. In secondary data which responds to quantitative data. See, it's a quantitative data. I got each and everything in primary data. Now I'm talking about the secondary data. What is the definition of secondary data? Secondary data, it's all about which is already existed somewhere. So in secondary data, for the sake of quantitative data, one can say that we got books, we have text, we have statistical data which can be represented, which is there in different sites. For instance, different government departments have a lot of data, as I mentioned in my previous lectures. For instance, you want to get some information, some data about the suicide, how many people got suicide in 2022, for instance. So you got two different institutions for that. First of all, it's like a government institution like healthcare. Obviously, there's a lot of people who can simply report in hospitals, and secondly the police. So I mean these two departments, they simply store a lot of data, so we can communicate to them and we can take data from them. Then as I mentioned earlier, there are historical books. We can get a lot of knowledge through historical books as well, but I mean there are a couple of things which are involved in it, and the thing which are there to understand is either we are not sure the data we having as a secondary data, is it possible it is updated version or not. So this we have all for today, and I mentioned so many things like structure interview, and I try my level best according to my ability to tell you all about the things we have in quantitative data, the sources, and there's so many things as well. The one thing which is missing I should mention is Hathorne effect. This is Hathorne effect we have in experimentation. I mean, for instance, you are for the sake of some place and you are experimenting something. I mean, if you simply change the atmosphere of a certain location, and the changing of atmosphere will reflect the observer or your respondent attitude. So if there is a change in respondent attitude due to the presence or due to the change in atmosphere or your surrounding, is called Hathorne effect. So this we have for today, and hope to see you tomorrow. And tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala, I will have another video which will reflect the whole information, deep insight of qualitative data. So if you people have a chance to watch this video 2 or 3 times, I am sure you will get a lot of knowledge. You keep on practicing on your own, inshallah ta'ala, handful knowledge will be there. Till then, Amin Khuda Hafiz and Fi Amanullah.